my corn grower friends. This is John Feldt. Welcome to the NCGA FMC Agricultural Weather Outlook for February 16th, 2014. I'd like to start off this briefing with some hopefully interesting observations on our overall weather patterns. And I want to talk about two things. One is sea surface temperatures, and the other is the stratosphere. Yes, the stratosphere. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because both of these, I believe, are having an impact on our winter weather. Let's start off at the sea surface temperature. This is just south of Alaska here, Pacific Northwest, Pacific waters, and it's unusually warm in this region. It has been now for quite some time. And usually when you get these warm weathers, the jet stream will bow to the north of that. And then in response to that, it'll dig to the south. So when you have that jet stream bowing to the north, you have warmer temperatures usually in this region. And then in response to that, the jet stream digs to the south and you have colder weather. And most of the corn growing region has been dominated by that dip in the jet stream, which has been the cold weather. And you can see that as we go through January. I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but this is the mean position of that bowing, and it has been very persistent. And then you've had this digging trough here, and that's that polar vortex, and it's been digging to the south. So I think part of the reason it's been unusually cold is because of that warm water. And you can see that in the temperatures. These are temperatures. Red are above normal temperatures, purple and blue below normal, and you can see that pattern. Here's your jet stream. It's anchored by that unusually warm water, and then that allows this to dig south and the cold air to come down. Now there's another feature going on, and this isn't totally understood yet, but the stratosphere from the top, that's a layer above the troposphere where our weather is, there's an event called a sudden stratospheric warming, or SSW. And that's indicated by this blue. This is the polar vortex, and this is that warming right here. And I don't have time to really go into this a lot, but when you get one of these events that are going on now, a sudden stratospheric warming, what it tends to do is loosen the polar jet stream. When the polar jet stream weakens, it allows that colder air to sag south. So keep that in mind. When the polar jet stream is strong, it keeps the air north and confined, and when it weakens, it lets it come south over the Corn Belt. Well, between the Pacific temperatures and this sudden stratospheric warming, both of these to me point towards still we're prone to that colder weather into March. So let's look at the past week. This is the past 7-day precipitation. We did have quite a bit of snow over the area, but you can see a sort of a splotchy pattern here over the middle part of the nation. So some areas got more significant precipitation and others didn't. And if you look at the percent of normal over the last 7 days, areas in blue received above normal, areas in red below normal. So again, you see that splotchiness. So if you're right here in the central part of Iowa, you did get some above normal winter precipitation, but then right here in Nebraska and parts of Kansas, you did not. An area that has been very active here over Indiana and Ohio was actually a little bit quieter last week compared to the past couple weeks. Now, if we go back, the departure from normal for the past 30 days, actually this is a percent of normal, not departure, but if we look at that, this is a longer term period over the last 30 days. We can see areas that have been trending on the wetter side in blue. So I know this area has been dry, so it's sort of nice. We're getting a little bit more so in Iowa, also parts of Illinois. We need more precipitation in this area. I don't see it in there right now. And also in this area, it's a little bit splotchy, but at least I don't see any really strong areas of red. Remember, you probably have heard about the Southwest. Look at that area in red. That's a departure from normal in this area down here of only 25% of normal in parts of the South, 25% of normal over the last 30 days. So we're actually, this is what I'd like to see over the winter period, a little bit above normal precipitation. So overall, that was beneficial. Now, if we look at the snow, look how widespread. This is just a 7-day snow. Most of it was pretty light, 0 to 5 inches. That's that purple. The area that received a heavier snow was right in here, this band here. A little bit heavier snow in that region, shaded here in this orange here, and that was above 5 inches in there. Also some lake impacts and spots. Green was above 10 inches in those regions. So a fairly widespread snow, but on the other hand, not necessarily a widespread heavy snow. Now, if you want to see how much snow's on the ground, you can see it here. The darker the shade of blue, the more snow's on the ground. And this pattern's been somewhat consistent. From a national perspective, we have 39.3% covered by snow, 25% last month. So there's been a significant increase compared to the last month. Now, I wanted to show you here, this was last year at this time. So I'm going to go back and forth a couple times. But I think what you're going to see is this region right in here is the area that has really seen the increase in snow this year compared to last year. So let's go forward, go back again, and I think we should be able to see that. And let's see here. Okay, this year, last year. So this is last year again, and this year. So really, this part of the Corn Belt right here has significantly more precipitation, or snowfall. Okay, so let's look at the jet stream. I'm going to run through two analyses here. Let's start with the jet stream analysis for the upcoming week. Well, let's look at the jet stream as we go through the week. And the black lines indicate the jet stream. These areas in red are sort of pockets of energy. So I'm going to look at pockets of energy that would cause precipitation and then the alignment of the jet stream. So as we go through the week, we see this little area here through the middle part of the nation. That's going to be a chance of some snow or freezing rain or rain. Nothing all that heavy as we go through the early part of the week. And then what we see as we get in the middle part of the week, look at this here. The jet stream really goes from west to east. We see it pretty straight across the nation. And that is that zonal flow I've talked about, and that is going to allow warmer temperatures to push up well into the middle part of the nation. It's going to be sort of a welcome break here as we get through the middle of the week. Now let's look as we get into the latter part of the week. This is early next week, actually, as we go through the weekend. So let's get into the weekend here, and we begin to see this area here, this trough digging out over the central part of the U.S. once again, and this right in here does show that we're getting back into that pattern with the ridge to the west, trough to the east, which means colder weather and perhaps back to some wintry weather. Okay, now that we've examined the jet stream, let's look at where precipitation might form and any patterns to this accumulated precipitation analysis. This is a precipitation accumulation loop. I'm going to start out with the current time, sort of run through the week and give you some idea. And don't get too hung up on the exact positions, as this will change as we go through the week. But this is the start of the week, and there is some snow and some freezing rain over the upper Midwest and parts of the Midwest as the warmer air pushes in. After that, it's going to be rain. Now keep in mind, this is accumulating. It's not each point. And then as we go through the middle of the week, it's fairly quiet. And then as that cold front pushes into the region, ushering in, unfortunately, another band of colder air, you can see we have another band of rain or snow. And then that's that area in yellow, heavier rain that affects parts of the middle Mississippi Valley, Ohio River Valley, and eventually the southeast U.S. as we get late in the week towards the weekend. This looks like one model at least, heaviest rain looks like it's going to be in the area of yellow, and again the Pacific Northwest, but that will be shifting into the southeast U.S. towards the weekend. So as far as the total accumulation for the next 7 days, the heaviest rainfall should be where the moisture is the deepest over the southeast U.S. into the Ohio Valley. I think we're going to have to keep an eye on Indiana and parts of Ohio. This area here, there's a chance of more moisture getting in there ahead of the front and being more significant. But other than that, it looks like the snowfall is going to be, the most snow is going to be associated with that second pulse of cold air and then early in the period as well. This gives you some idea of where the snow will occur, and I wanted to show you that the snow that's generally in the blue here, this area here, is associated with the first round. So when we're going from the cold air to the warmer air, so it'll be very early in the period, and some of that will come in the form of freezing rain. And then this band right here is a second band, and that's associated with the colder air late in the period. So we're going to have two periods of chance of precipitation this week, one early, then we're going to have that milder air, and then a second one with the colder air pushing in, and that'll occur later in the week. Now let's review some of the models as far as precipitation trends. I mentioned this week, this is this week, so it looks like just that area right here with the snowfall will be the heaviest rain, or I should say snow. And then if we go into week 2, so let's look at week 2. This is the 24th of February through March 4th. I think the way I would analyze this is this area in blue looks to me like enhanced snow. Now don't get on these 2-week and 3-week forecasts, don't get look at it, this is precisely what's going to occur because there are going to be changes. But right here, it looks to me like enhanced snow possibility, again, in that typical track from Minnesota, perhaps into Wisconsin, maybe some surrounding states. Eastern part of the ag region, it looks like will be below normal. Looks like a fairly strong signal for below normal precipitation over southern Illinois, most of Indiana, and into Ohio, as well as Missouri, parts of Kansas. That's week 2. Temperatures, though, I think one of the differences here, I explained some of the reasons causing this type pattern, and this is the February 27th, late February temperature anomaly. Look at this. This is almost, exactly what I described earlier in this briefing, the warmer type pattern, and then response to that, the jet stream digs, and you have your colder weather jet stream pattern like this. I think the difference, though, is that these anomalies aren't going to be quite as cold as we saw in January, and the other thing, they're not going to extend quite as far south. So I think they're going to be a little bit more confined to eastern North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, maybe northern parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Not to say that it's not going to have below normal temperatures there, but it's not going to be as widespread, I think, that we saw earlier this season. Now let's take a look at week 3. This is when we're getting to early March. I explained a lot of reasons why it could be cool or cold, and let's see if the models sort of show that. This is temperature. Green is below normal, and indeed it does show that much of the Corn Belt is forecast from this climate model to experience below normal temperatures the first week in March. And then this area in orange here for precipitation is dry. So if we believe this climate model for early March, we'd expect to go into March with colder weather, below normal temperatures, and dry conditions. Okay, so the takeaway points for this week, the first 7-day period, wintry precipitation moves it through as warmer air moves in. There'll be a moderation of temperature over a large part of the U.S. Corn Belt. Unfortunately, it looks like back to colder weather with some snow ushering that in late this week, and that pattern does look, especially the colder temperatures, like it could continue for the rest of the month into March. Not as bad, but still, unfortunately, this looks like these milder temperatures just aren't going to last all that long. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me, John at BlueWaterOutlook.com, and I will be talking with you again next weekend. Have a nice week.